What's up guys, it's me, Strawhead Nate, and I'm back this week with a new One Piece video. This time we have chapter 1143, titled God's Knights. So the chapter is a big deal for Haruden and Loki, whose relationship we learn a little bit more about at the end of the chapter. And the final lines reveal that Loki might not be as evil as we think, as the Straw Hats and Haruden and the rest of the Giants are confronting Loki. Separately, everything is falling apart up in the Sun Layer as they have to deal with the great fires, the kidnapping of the children, and the giant dream monsters that are roaming around, spawned in by the God's Knights. And if you want to know the mechanism through which the God's Knights spawn these creatures, then stay till later in this video when I talk about it. Now, without further ado, let's start going through the chapter after you like and subscribe. So the cover to start out this week is not part of the Yamato cover series. It's a color spread for the first time in a while. This one shows the Straw Hats on a flying fish race, similar to like Duval and his Rough Riders, and Luffy's in the lead, obviously. Now, to start the actual chapter, the teachers and the Straw Hats at the Walrus School are going over the current situation in front of them. Saul takes the initiative and goes to try to stop the children who are being dragged away while sleepwalking. And remember, Mr. Wolf said that we can't impede with the children walking away. And we see why here. When Saul tries to stop them from moving forward, he gets stabbed with vines of thorns that spawn around the kids. So this power was put in place by the God's Knights in order to prevent interference in their plan. And I'll explain whose power it is a little later, but you could probably already tell. Now, Miss Anji is calling the Western Village on some sort of old-fashioned Dendamushi, and the Western Village is where the party is being held and all the most powerful giants are, and she's telling them about what's happening to the kids so they could possibly help. Nami, who is with them, is worried because there's too much going on right now. The fires, and then now this, but the rest of the giants don't seem to care as they're far too drunk to take anything seriously. Then we cut away to see the firefighter giants, basically, who have been deployed to stop the fires that have been caused by Loki's attack. And they start flying over on their firefighting Viking ship, but they get swatted out of the air by the big dream creature that looks like a big skeleton. And if I remember correctly, this creature's name is Draugr. So now the giants in the Western Village first see these dream monsters with their own eyes, and also the main force for stopping the fires is gone. But now we check in on the God's Knights, who actually are having dinner at a table they seem to have summoned. And in the background, we actually see the chaos of the dream monsters roaming around while they casually eat dinner. Saint Summers is laughing at the idea of the giants not being able to save the kids because of his devil fruit power, which is the thorns that I mentioned earlier. He is just cartoonishly evil and sadistic because he talks about enjoying killing the parents who try to hug their children, and he calls it death by love, but that's just cartoonishly evil. Anyway, Gunko doesn't really care, and she's just sitting eating her food, and somehow she's eating through her mask. That doesn't get explained, but they discuss their plan to get the children to the harbor near the Western Village. If you think about it, this could be dangerous since pretty much all of the most powerful Elbaf warriors are in the Western Village right now. Then Saint Killingham actually requests salt for the meal, which is kind of random. So what he does is he makes Saint Summers think about Salt, and then he puts him to sleep, and then he summons that Salt he was thinking about into reality. This shows how Saint Killingham can manifest dreams into reality, which is how he summoned all of these nightmare monsters into Elbaf. Gunko's extremely surprised a reaction to eating the salt that was conjured by Saint Killingham might hint to the fact that she's not a celestial dragon like the other God's Knights, because she's not used to eating such high caliber food. But now we know all of the names of the God's Knights devil fruits that are here, at least. Gunko has the arrow fruit. Saint Killingham has the dragon fruit model Kirin, and Summers has the thorn fruit. To end this scene, Saint Killingham tells the others that he now knows that Emperor Luffy is on the island, which I guess was not known beforehand, but that changes the game for the God's Knights. Now we get back to the underworld where Luffy is, and right now Loki is trying to get the others to undo his final chain on his leg. He threatens that everyone here will die if they don't follow his commands, and Luffy, who made the promise that he will deal with the repercussions of releasing Loki if it comes to that, has to actually take up on his promise and attack Loki. The long-awaited battle between Luffy and Loki is about to kick off, and Luffy first attacks with his Gum Gum air balloon, but with the first punch, Loki passes out immediately. It seems that he has been bluffing all along about being so strong because he was on the verge of death anyway. Zoro even tells everyone that after examining his wounds earlier, could tell that he was on death's door. Luffy is actually kind of mad now because now Loki, that he's passed out, can't tell him about Shanks, which is the whole point of releasing Loki in the first place. And they decide to, instead of just killing him while he's unconscious, to look after his body until he heals, partly because of Luffy's begging. Then, maybe after a couple minutes, they have Loki's body laid up flat on the ground and tied back up again, and Gerd thinks that this recovery of his might take months. And Luffy looks at Loki's cool horns and wonders about them, so Haruden answers, explaining that these horns are the marks of the ancient war-bearing giants that their father, King Harald, had and did not like, so ripped them out. And this causes a short flashback with Haruden and Loki as children, and in the flashback, Loki does nothing but constantly tease and bully Haruden, who is not full royal blood like Loki is, and he says that Haruden has his mom's dirty blood in him, which is really harsh for these kids to be saying. And Haruden, thinking about all these bad memories he had as a child, grabs his axe and is ready to swing at Loki on the ground, who is defenseless at this point. At the last moment though, Loki wakes up and says to Haruden, "Do you really think I killed our father in cold blood?" And that's the end of the chapter. So this raises the question that Loki is not actually as evil as he seems, which I've been saying for months now. This might start an in-depth Loki backstory next chapter, because it seems that he might have been forced or even tricked into killing his father, King Harold. But this backstory may or may not come, because we also do need to stay in the present in order to see all the chaos ensuing up in the Sun Layer. The God's Knights are really in control of the situation up there, and some of them, like Saint Summers specifically, seem more evil than the others, like Gunko, who might be made out to be a sympathetic character. There seems to be no foreseeable way of stopping these kids from sleepwalking all the way to the harbor, so the Giants and the Straw Hats in the Western Village might just have to fight the God's Knights soon in order to save the Elbaf children. We'll see next chapter if we go into backstory or not, and that next chapter happens to come out very soon because there's no break next week. So if you made it to the end of this video, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to show your support, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.